During the Georgian period, Southampton was a popular spa town, boasting impressive hotels, sea bathing, theatres and balls. The great and the good flocked to the town, and many of the beautiful historic buildings in the town today were built around that time. And yet, that's not the whole story. Throughout the period, Great Britain was engaged in a succession of wars which are sometimes known collectively as the Second 100 Years' War. The American War of Independence, the Anglo-Dutch War, and regular war with France. And during this whole time, Southampton played its part as a muster point for troops, a safe harbour for ships, and as a prison for captured soldiers. Press gangers were a regular sight in the town, as were roaming army recruiting sergeants, so if the navy didn't get you, the army might. A bounty of £3 for every able seaman and £2 for every landsman was offered to incentivise recruitment. One visitor to the town said in 1795,
"We passed through a forest of transport ships, which were partly waiting for troops and were partly laden with horses. As soon as we got into the town, nothing but redcoats and military were to be seen on all sides. In short, we never saw a place that had such a military appearance as Southampton."
In 1778, things were looking particularly bad for the British cause. Britain was facing the combined strength of France and Spain, and the local newspapers had the rumour mill going with talk of a summer invasion, when the French fleet sailed close to the Isle of Wight. The Battle of Ushant took place a few days later. Southampton had its own busy shipbuilding industry. There were shipyards in Buckler's and Netley, and also in Northam. One ship that was built there was the Saturn, launched in 1786. To celebrate her launch, the crew proceeded to smash up some of the town's brand new oil lamps which had just been installed. One of the most intense periods of this time were the 1780s and 1790s. Britain was at war with France, and many French priests and nobles who were fleeing the unrest caused by the French Revolution came to the town. As they did so, many local citizens began complaining about the situation. People in the town also felt the pinch in their pockets in the form of new taxes, such as the window tax, and even a hair powder tax. Many sick and wounded British soldiers and Marines were housed in the town too. They were sometimes put in inns or private houses, or recent research has suggested they may have been dumped in the town's medieval wine vaults. It's fair to say they weren't looked after well. One soldier, after being discharged from his hospital bed, tried to walk to his next posting in Plymouth, but collapsed near Millbrook, where he subsequently died. Towards the end of the century, a sugar refinery in Gloucester Square was used as a hospital to house some of the 3,000 sick sailors and soldiers suffering from typhus. In the previous century, Dutch prisoners had been brought to Southampton, and from the early 18th century, the wool house was used to house prisoners of war. In the 1740s, 800 prisoners were brought to Southampton from Porchester Castle. Within a fortnight, 100 had died, probably from typhus. Large parts of the areas around the wool house seem to have been partitioned off for use by the prisoners, much to the consternation of the locals. Some of the prisoners carved their names into the stones and beams of the wool house. Other prisoners left other remarkable reminders of their time in England. Models made from bone, ships like HMS Temeraire, and a wonderful working model. These could then be sold to interested local people. The Second 100 Years' War finally came to an end in 1815, when the Duke of Wellington defeated Napoleon at the Battle of Waterloo. Southampton could turn its mind to peace, and before long to the incredible expansion of the docks.